Hello, I'm Toasted. Waffles, or you may call me Ideas. Toasted Ideas. And in this idea, I want to go over the saying that is held within a bunch of red pill YouTubers. That being the need of men to have the abundance mindset when it comes to dating people, which, inherently, I think is a good thing for someone in the dating market to have, as you don't want to have the mindset that will eventually lead you to a roadblock, but instead one that will lead to open gaps within every situation, as roadblocks are nothing but fickle as they can lead to problematic outcomes that would be negated within having the idea that there is always an escape room, if need be. However, I think that if you don't keep yourself in check with how you think of people within your life, but instead always thinking of the many instead of the few, that's where the problem with this mindset starts to arrive, and where the melting of your brain can start to affect your outlook on your own relationships, as without the mindset being too prevalent, you're mostly thinking about how you can grow or try to uphold the few within your life instead of thinking that if stuff went too crazy, I can always dip instead of trying to solve things. I guess an example I could use would be an equivalent of an Instagram model having a lot of followers and then acting as if you're replaceable.
If you meet a
But
girl,
she's giving you the woman part in your life.
Yeah, and the woman part is fidelity, which social media allows you to somewhat circumvent because it keeps your options open.
It's an equivalent to the abundance mindset, as she will always have it in the back of her mind that she could have anybody. But in that kind of case, I think that the mindset has already gone unchecked for too long, as it starts to shred any kind of possible relationship as it becomes very one-sided, as the other person in the relationship now has to jump through hoop after hoop after, as they are replaceable, not you. So if they don't rise up to my occasion, are they worth it? Now, although that example is from the point of looking outwardly and is obviously not good, as the other person within the relationship is acting like a beta simp who belongs in her DMs, jumping through hoop after hoop for someone who doesn't treat them as an equal. However, I can see where in another situation like this, with a different partner, to where having the abundance mindset or ability, such as Instagram followers boosting her confidence and self-worth, can be a good thing, as it can negate problematic people, as truly evil people only look for those who feel like their voice is silent and unreachable.
So this is him contacting somebody else about the incident in Japan. He goes, and you can see the video as he's scrolling. He says, "Hey, sorry to bother you about this. This guy attacked an innocent girl in Roppongi, and the police found him. I heard he did something to you. Is that true?" And the woman in question, who's Japanese, she goes, "Yes, true. What him make for the girl?" Which I think is her broken English. "Yeah, I know he's a real scumbag. Is it true that he punched you in your face?" And she says, "Yes. What happened with the other girl?" And he says, "Are you sure it's definitely this guy?" To which she replies, "Yes."
And so a couple other people from Japan contacted me and said that this guy was charged for bottling a woman in the face after she rejected him at a club. This went to court. He settled out of court. The woman has a scar across her face. She didn't want to come forward and bring this up, nor does she want to be involved because she's been traumatized by the experience since.
Or if something of this nature would arrive later in being in a committed relationship with this person, then you have an out of that toxic situation. Now, I think that having the abundance mindset in this specific example can make you become the evil-natured person that I more or less described. Abusive, neglectful, toxic. If you, once again, don't keep yourself in check, as now you might have an inflated sense of ego. Now, perhaps you have noticed that I just doubled back to the first example of making the other person within the relationship jump through hoop after hoop in order to appease their feeling of self-worth or importance. To which, this is where I point out that the main point of the idea of the abundance mindset being brain melting. As if it's not kept in check, it can lead to many problems that will eventually lead you back to the main problem of you being single. It can make you have an inflated ego, can make you feel metaphorically bigger than the other person, make you become abusive, making statements of "you're replaceable," and subsequently making the other person feel metaphorically smaller than you. And finally, it can make you seem as a toxic leech as people start to realize that you just suck to be with, as you can't keep your eyes on one person and one person only, and instead you make the other person feel worthless within the confines of your relationship. I'll use another example to point out why this mindset is quite toxic. I'll use Fresh and Fit's candy store metaphor to explain how, while it sounds good, it is but instead terrible for the end goal of a relationship.
I'm going to go into an analogy. The audience loves this. I'm going to do the candy store analogy here.
let's do it.
Because it's amazing to me how a lot of girls here think that your monogamy is equal to a man's monogamy. And I'm trying to say that it's not at all. So I'm going to go into a dream world real quick, real fast. Right? Real sound effect.
You gotta say.
Yes, sir. So I was preemptive. So, ladies, I want you guys to imagine, right? Like, just close your eyes real quick, okay? Everybody close your eyes. We're going to go into an imagination now so you guys understand this. Look, if you're gonna be, hold on. If you're gonna have an attitude about it, and I don't need it, I don't
have an attitude. You want me? I'm closing my eyes.
And all this stuff, like
Myron, I'm closing my eyes.
Respect the platform. You're a podcaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then follow the fucking rules, man.
Yeah,
like, it's simple. Like,
all right, go ahead.
Like, know where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Like, I don't need the attitude, the eye rolls, or this extra stuff. I'm trying to explain a concept, right? So you guys get where I'm coming from here with the monogamy thing. All right. So close your eyes, ladies. All right. Close them. I'm looking around. So I want you guys to imagine that there's a candy store, okay? The women are allowed into this candy store at 18 years old, okay? They get to go in, enjoy the candy, check out the different aisles. You've been there for a few years now. You figure out that purple Starbursts are strange. You figure out that Tootsie Rolls are disgusting. Pink Starbursts are good. Yellow Starbursts are gross. M&Ms are weird. You start to gummy bears are cool on some days. Some days they're not. You stay out of this aisle. You go to this aisle, whatever it may be. And at some point, you start to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and when you start kind of hang out at certain aisles, right? The men, however, are not allowed to go into the candy store until they're 35 years old, been going to the gym for 5 years, and have $100,000 saved up, right? Mm-hmm. So you're in there, you're having a great time, 18 years old, about 17 years passes by or some shit?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, just fucking literally bang, right? The dudes are allowed into the candy store, all right?
Going crazy.
Only a few of them, though, because a lot of them didn't qualify. I mean, you're supposed to keep the eyes closed. Like,
oh, sorry.
You got to follow instructions.
Sorry, go ahead.
So anyway, so the guys are allowed into the candy store finally, right? But there's only a couple guys that are allowed in. But there's a huge line wrapped around the candy store for the other guys to get in. So they're seeing these guys come in and they're cheering them on. Yeah, you guys made it in, blah, blah, blah. So these guys that made it in, they're going crazy. They're eating pieces of candy that you threw away 10 years ago. They're hanging off the rafters. They're swinging around. They're going nuts. They're jumping in the aisles. They're swimming, fucking doing snow angels with the cotton candy. Like all this crazy shit in the candy store, fucking it up. And all of you are like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Like, have you never seen candy before? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And the guy stops and says, how the fuck are you going to tell me how many pieces of candy I can eat when I had to bust my ass to get in this candy store?
Now, from an outward look, I understand it, as now that I've worked for years and years to get what I wanted, these women who did nothing to get it are now telling me what to do? And from a position of just wanting fun times, or candy in other words, I understand it. But what I'm talking about is trying to build a relationship, so that's what I'm going to stick to. And this is where the abundance mindset isn't good for the idea of a possible relationship, as the men who are now inside the candy store are eating candy from every shelf, even the candy that is unwanted, 1 candy, 2 candy, or even multiple candy all around them. They're having it all. This, although might sound great from the perspective of just wanting fun, is instead a terrible perspective when looking upon their newly found reputation. They are wild, don't care about who the other person is. Horrible flavor, unwanted, doesn't matter, because now that they have the taste of one candy, they now want all the candy. They're rambunctious and don't care about how they act or look as long as they get to have some candy from every shelf. Or in other words, they become unwanted within the terms and confines of a relationship because they can't even hold themselves to a higher standard of eating the good candy or even stay with the one flavor, as they always want the better fix. So in other terms, the once rich, older, and stronger man has now become a child in the eyes of the women, as they acted without any restraint, whereas the now older women have that restraint, as they even call it out to the supposed older and wiser men. Which, this is where I bring back the main point of how the abundance mindset melts your brain and soul, as this once calculated, wise, and strong man has now become someone who is unwanted in the eyes of a relationship because they can't even have the decency of choosing good candy or even stay with their favorite candy. And that's all I wanted to talk about in this idea of the abundance mindset. I see the good that it can produce, but overall, I think that the mindset is a very toxic and slippery slope that anyone who truly wants a relationship should venture carefully. There's still a bunch that I could go on with this idea, but I'll save that for the future to decide. Though I hope to see you again on my next upload, and until then, have a good one.